Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel many times before. Perhaps one of my most reviewed breweries here on the channel, in fact. They've done some very nice beers over the years. I've had lots of good stuff from them, and this one is one that I have to say I'm looking very much forward to, because the other ones in this sort of mini-series, if you like, have been very good. So fingers crossed this is another good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So for this review, we will head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Gothenburg catchphrase because it's channel tradition and all that jazz. And for this review, we are going to return to Stigbergets Bryggeri. So this particular beer is called Bionic. It comes in at 10% ABV, and this one is a New England Triple IPA. So yeah, this is the third Triple IPA that they've put out after Bionic and Pharmacon, both of which were very good. So I have to say I'm very curious to see what this one has in store for us. This beer was released here in Sweden as part of the Lokal och Småskalig assortment through Systembolaget for April of 2021. The exact release date was the 6th of April actually, which is a little bit later than normal, but it has been available through Glassbanken for a couple of weeks prior to that. But yeah, really looking forward to it, as I said, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on it. Always nice to review some new Stigbergets beers here on the channel. I must have reviewed around 70 different beers from these guys now, and we've got 2 lagers to have a look at a little bit later on in the month too, which I'm very much looking forward to. So yeah, let's go for it then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stigbergets Bryggeri before, and you will see more added to that list in the fairly near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Stigbergets Bryggeri once again. And we've done this many times before. But yeah, as I've mentioned to you already, Stigbergets Bryggeri are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg, up there on the Swedish west coast, and the company was founded by Nils Hultkrantz and Richard Simonsson. So these two guys own 2 bars that share the one kitchen. This is the Bar Kino and the Hagabions Cafe, which are located on Linnegatan in Gothenburg, and they both opened back in 2007. This building is actually an independent cinema. The Hagabions Cafe is basically in the atrium of this place, whereas the Bar Kino is in the basement, and they're both quite nice actually. I spent a little bit of time in Bar Kino. If you want to see what this building looks like, you can go and check out my out and about video that I did of Bar Kino and Hagabions Cafe. I hope that the next time I go there I can spend a little bit of time in Hagabions, actually. That would be really cool. But originally the idea that they had was to brew a few beers that they could sell in the bars, but this led to them kegging the beers and selling it to other pubs, and eventually to bottling the beer as well in November of 2014. But the original beers were mainly English and German styles, but of course they really started to make their name when they changed their focus to the more hoppy American styles of beer. The original head brewer was Ole Andersson, who is the co-owner of OO Brewing. He stayed with them until about April of 2017, and then he was replaced for a short period of time by Barnaby Struve, who was one of the vice presidents at Three Floyds. But it was under Ole Andersson that they really made their name for themselves, probably with the Amazing Haze, the GBG Beer Week Beer 2016, you know, you had Muddle, there was a few others in there that were just really top class New England IPAs, and Stigbergets were the ones who really kind of brought that style in to Sweden actually, and then Narangi from OO Brewing, which was released roughly the same time as another one of those kind of cult classic beers. But they moved a little bit later on, I think around that 2017 time, to Partihalarna, where they were brewing 5,000 litre batches of beer at a time. They also started working on some sour beers there as well, and they moved their beers into 440 milliliter cans, and this has allowed them to export their beer a lot more widely and get their name out there a little bit more. These guys are probably one of the best known Swedish craft breweries these days. They've got a brew team of Ollie Banks, who used to work for Beavertown in London, and also Lucas Monroyd, who was one of the main guys behind All In Brewing, one of the numerous gypsy brewers operating around Gothenburg. But they've actually just moved to a new brewery in Ringen as of summer 2020, and they're going to brew some lambic beer there by the looks of it. And there apparently is facilities for a bar and swimming there as well, which will be very cool. The article that I read about this place, it was talking about it being an experience brewery, so I think that could be very interesting going forward, and I do hope that I can get up to Gothenburg and take a look at this place. It would be really cool to get an interview with Richard and Simon at some point. That would be a really fun Meet the Brewery thing on the channel. But these guys opened up a bar in Stockholm in 2020. I think it was April that opened up, and they've also opened up their own Folkbill shop in Gothenburg as well. So for those of you that don't know, anything 3.5% and below in Sweden can be sold in the supermarkets or through a private enterprise. Anything else that's above that has to go through Systembolaget, the state-owned alcohol monopoly. So Folköl, you can, theoretically speaking, create your own Folköl beer shop in Sweden if you want to. But yeah, nothing else really to say about Stigbergets other than that. These guys, as of April 2021, when I'm filming this review, have produced around 110 different kinds of beer, and that number will no doubt increase over the coming months. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Stigbergets Bryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can follow them. You can go and check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have released. So yeah, let's crack on then and have a taste of this beer. I have to say, I'm very curious to see what this one has in store for us. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is very similar to what we've had from the other beers in this sort of mini-series. First one was the Chronic, which was green, then it was Pharmacon, which was red, and now we have Bionic, which is yellow. So I'm guessing the next one might well be blue. We'll just need to see. But yeah, as I said to you, 10% New England Triple IPA. This one, it contains barley malt, oats and wheat. Pardon me. And the hops in this one are Mosaic, Citra and Idaho 7. So all American hops, all roughly about 14% alpha acid. And they should be quite interesting. I mean, yeah, Mosaic's going to give you a lovely tangerine orangey note. Citra's going to give you a lot of mango and some citrusy zest in the beer, whereas Idaho 7 is going to give you a lot of the softer tropical fruit notes. But yeah, 440 milliliter can. This one, I think I paid roughly about 65 Swedish kroners, maybe, I forget exactly, but I think about 60 Swedish kroner for this one. So that's roughly €6, about £5.50 sterling, and maybe about $7.25, $7.25 American for those of you watching in different parts of the world. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really, really looking forward to this one. Yes, so let's get this guy out and into the glass. Stigbergets really, really know what they're doing with the triple IPAs. The triple IPAs, I think, have been amongst the among the best beers that I've had from this brewery in recent times, actually. So that's maybe about 80% of it out in the can. Let me just realign this so that my OCD is happy, and there we go. So, damn, this looks pretty nice. So, as you can see, we'll do it the head before it disappears. This one's poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say, very, very slightly creamy coloured head. I don't think that is quite perfect white there, but a very, very nice half finger of a foamy, creamy looking head there. That is going to fade away, I think, over the next little while. I can already see it kind of receding there. But in terms of colour, this one looks like a lovely kind of mixed tropical fruit juice, actually. I think it looks very, very good. I always like comparing the New England IPAs to different fruit juices, because that's what their appearance really just reminds me of. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it looks really nice. If we shine the light through this one, I have to say, for a 10% New England Triple IPA, it's not the haziest one that I think I've come across before. You actually get, if you shine the light through it, you do get quite a bit of light coming through it at the top there. So certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England Triple IPAs. So remember, when it comes to the colour of these beers, it depends on 1, the type of malts that you use, 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, thus you get a darker colour of beer, but it is dependent on what malts you use in the first place. And then the level of haze in these beers really depends on the oat and wheat ratios, actually. So that's really what you kind of get out of these ones. But yeah, theoretically speaking, the level of oat and wheat should go up as you go up the alcohol scale, but you know, that varies from brewery to brewery. So theoretically speaking, the higher the alcohol content, the more haze you should have, but it's simply no that simple. But yeah, lovely looking beer, this one. Nothing particularly surprising about it in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is. So yeah, it looks very, very nice then. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. I have to say, I'm very excited for this. Oh, this is going to be a monster. You can just tell that right away from smelling it. Yeah, you can smell the sort of chewiness and stuff in the malt base of this. I think I'm going to enjoy this. But yeah, straight away with this beer, you can smell that it's really just, it's got a little bit of everything in it. As I've told you before, with New England IPAs, for me, they can be farmhousey, they can be barley malt leaning and bready, oaty and creamy, wheaty and bitey, a little bit rye leaning and grainy, and sometimes they can be a little bit sweet, but quite often these beers will display multiple characteristics, and you're getting that with this, definitely. With the boozier ones like this, you will get a little bit more of a kind of brown sugary note out of them. And I'm definitely noticing that here. But yeah. So straight away with this beer, you can smell a little bit of that kind of bready backbone to it, but you can seriously smell the thickness of the oats in this one, and there's a lot of that big kind of Werther's Original note coming out of this beer. You're always going to get that when you've got a big 10% monster of a beer like this. You are always going to get a little bit of that kind of Werther's Original kind of butter candy sort of thing coming out of the beer. There's a lot of that in this one, I would say. So yeah, you can smell the big booziness in this beer, definitely. But yeah, the malty side of the beer is quite layered. Bready notes underneath, you do get a little bit of a kind of bread crusty quality there. You can smell the big thick oaty note out of it. Then you've got that lovely kind of Werther's Original quality to the beer in this one as well. When you take it in the nose in a little bit more deeply, you definitely get a bit of a wheaty bitiness in there too. So this beer's displaying quite a bit of different, quite a few different characteristics that you would expect from a New England Triple IPA, but the wheat actually does become more and more prominent, I think, the more that you smell of this beer, but it really smells like it's going to be a big chewy malt base that you get out of this, which is nice for a Triple IPA, absolutely. But yeah, the hoppy side of things then. So for me, there's a nice little bit of an earthiness in there, which is going to come from the mosaic, but the green component of this beer for me is overwhelmingly deep and floral, and I really like that about this for sure. All of these hops, as I've told you before, are, I think they're all roughly around 14% alpha acid. I think they might actually all be like that. I don't know if the Idaho 7's a little bit higher, come to think of it, but yeah. So you get a nice big deep green floral aromatic note out of this one, a little touch spicy, which I think works, and then you've got a good little bit of grassy zestiness coming out of the beer as well. So yeah, the grassy side of this beer is pretty cool actually. So you do get that little bit of zestiness just on the front of the nose too, but yeah, green component for me is a lovely deep floral aromatic note. So yeah, it's all about getting the balance there in the aroma, but the fruity side of things is very nice too. It's got a lovely big oiliness to it. I'm just getting so excited about this beer now. I really like it. But yeah, the fruitiness comes across as really big and really oily. So let's examine that now. I think we've covered the green component as much as we need to. So in terms of fruitiness and things like that, there's a good bit of a kind of stronger passion fruit in there. Some lovely big oily mangoes as well, which I really like. And then you do get, those notes are coming from the Citra, I would think. But the Idaho 7 is going to contribute to that as well. But you really get some of those softer, slightly apricot-y and slightly pineapple-y notes out of this beer as well. So you can smell like a very strong and big and oily tropical fruit note out of this one, which I really like. But I'm also getting some really nice, I'm also getting a lot of kind of juicy tangerine orange in there as well, which I can certainly appreciate. So yeah, this one's a very, very solid beer, I have to say. I really like how everything in this beer just kind of pieces together. So yeah, lovely big juicy tangerine orange note to it, a little bit oily as well, but then the tropical fruits come in It's nice and oily behind that as well. That's one of the things that I really like about triple IPAs, is just the sheer oiliness of the fruits, if you like. But yeah, this is a lovely beer. This one, it's all the hops are showing themselves. You've got a lovely deep green component to it, and the malt base comes across as lovely and chewy. So let's get stuck into this beer and see how we get on. Take a bit of time to ponder over the aroma, because you won't be disappointed with the Stigbergets Triple IPAs in that regard. But yeah, this one is the Bionic 10% New England Triple IPA with Citra, Mosaic and Idaho 7 from Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg, Göteborg, up there on the Swedish west coast. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah. It is very nice. Very, very nice. The thing I always find interesting about these beers as well is that when you try a sort of new version of them, you can kind of see a little bit how your palate has changed, because I'm guessing that for the most part they will be using the same base beer as they would in the Chronic and the Pharmacon. But just on that first sip, this is again very, very well done, and this is what we've come to expect of Stigbergets. Absolutely. So yeah, this thing is a bit of a monster. But it's a very nicely executed monster once again. So where do we begin with this then? So straight away across the middle of the palate, you can feel that nice smooth white bready quality there. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. This beer, for a triple IPA, it's also remarkably slick, which I find quite interesting. This one, I don't find this as thick as some of the other ones, but as I've said to you, your palate changes with different things that you're drinking, of course. So yeah, that nice smooth white bready note there, I think works very, very well. That forms a very nice backbone of the beer, and you can feel it actually becoming a little bit more crisp the further that you go into the aftertaste. But on top of that, you can feel the nice kind of smooth oaty characters coming out of this beer. It's almost like they go right down the middle line of your tongue. In that middle third of your palate, you go right down the middle of your tongue there, then you've got a nice kind of smooth oatiness in there, and a little bit of thickness too, which is great. But then in the middle of your palate, you've got a really nice kind of circle. You've got this kind of circle there where you get that big Werther's Original butter candy type thing out of the beer. So yeah, this beer, I have to say, it doesn't feel quite as thick as I remember the other triple IPAs, but it still pulls off the flavour really nicely in a sense. Maybe I'm just a bit more used to triple IPAs, although I don't drink that many triples, to be honest. But yeah, I think in fairness, the more you drink of it, the slightly thicker it gets. It does kind of mellow out a little bit. But to me, it strikes me as a very straight shooting malt base, this one, in a sense. It's kind of everything that you would expect, and it's not madly complex. If you go to the front corners of your palate and move diagonally back, you will get one or two slightly woody undertones pushing their way up out of the beer, but those are very, very minimal. But yeah, middle of your palate, soft white bready base that gets a little bit crisper the further you go into the aftertaste. Then you've got a lovely big smooth oaty note kind of right down the middle line of your tongue, and then right in the centre of your palate you've got a kind of circle like this where you get where you get that Werther's Original butter candy type thing, and that is those are the alcohol flavours coming out of the beer. But yeah, straight shooting in the middle of the palate there, which I think works very well. On that border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of a slightly more bready build up, and you can feel a nice wee kind of grainy bread crusty element sitting on top of that. On the back third of your palate though, you get a bit more kind of wheaty bitiness out of the beer. The oats, I think, do spread back a little bit into that back third of the palate too. But yeah, back third, definitely a little bit of wheaty bitiness there, some oaty smoothness sitting on top, and then you get the yeasty characters sitting on top of that as well, which I think works very, very well. So yeah, I think it goes really nicely in that sense. So you can feel on the back third of your palate the flavour is a little bit taller because you get those airy yeasty esters kind of sitting on top of it. But as you move further forward, you can feel the flavour sort of just condenses down gradually. And as you reach that border region with the middle third of your tongue, goes down like this, and then it's quite a condensed flavour that you get going into that middle third of your palate there. So I can certainly appreciate that with this beer, definitely. But yeah, the malty yeasty side of this beer, I think, is really nicely executed. It's straight shooting, it does its job, that's what you want from it, and it's very nicely balanced as well. So you're getting a bit of brown sugar, you're getting a bit of wheaty bitiness, you're getting a bit of smooth oatiness, and you're getting a bit of that barley malt kind of thing coming out of this one too. So yeah, it just kind of goes to show you these beers don't need to be madly complex, in fact. But yeah, sometimes the more straight shooting they are, the better, in fact. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's definitely a little touch of earthiness there. That I would hazard, I guess, is from the Mosaic. But as you move further forward from that, it develops a little bit of a slightly herbal note. And as you move further and further forward along the front sides of your tongue, then it does get a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic, actually. So yeah, I think it goes together really nicely. But yeah, I would say the floral aromatic notes in this one are quite deep. It's kind of similar to what I was picking up in the Aroma early on. It does have a nice deep floral aromatic component to it, this beer, which I can certainly appreciate. So yeah, I think that works very well. But yeah, round the front curve of your palate, it's definitely got a nice bit of a lighter grassiness to it, and there is just a little touch of zestiness there, but the main, the dominating factor, I guess you could say, in the green component is that nice big floral aromatic note, and it does get a little bit more kind of bright, it does get a little bit brighter and a little bit more kind of spicy the further that you go into the aftertaste as well. So yeah, I like how I do like how this beer goes about its business in that sense too. The green component is really nicely executed in this one, but it kind of goes to show you most of the hops in this beer are late addition hops. Absolutely, you don't have too big a bitterness to this one, but we'll come to that in the mouthfeel. Remember, early, if you add the hops on early on during the boil, that's when you get more kind of bitterness from them. A beer like this is going to undergo a boil of maybe between 70 and 90 minutes, and if you add the hops later, that's when you get more kind of fruity, juicy aroma type qualities out of them. So yeah. But yeah, let's focus on that fruity side of the beer then. So as I always say, on that front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. On the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice kind of, you do get a little bit of that more kind of bready build up again, a wee bit of a bread crusty kind of grainy element there, but then the base of that front third of your palate is most definitely a kind of smooth oaty kind of quality. But then yeah, on the fruity side of things, as I always say, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. It is kind of what you would expect if you know these hops. At the back of that front third of your palate, you get a kind of slightly stronger passion fruity element to it, but then quite quickly it mellows out to become more mangoey. The fruits are really lovely and oily in a sense, but then as you move further forward, you start to get more kind of apricot-y and sort of pineapple-y notes there, which I think is really nice. But then as you move on to the front half of that front third of your tongue, it's the Mosaic that starts to show its head a little bit more. So the back half, pardon me, of the front third of your tongue is all about the Citra and the Idaho 7, and I think the Idaho 7 is a little bit more dominant actually. The softness of the Idaho 7 really comes out a little bit more, but as you move forward onto that front third, it's about the Mosaic. Then you can feel some of the sort of citrusy edges of the Citra coming out as well. So you've got a nice big oily tangerine note to this one, and then just behind the front kind of tip of the tongue, you get a wee touch of a sort of lemon limey thing, which will be the Citra in there. So yeah, the fruitiness is lovely and oily. I really like how this goes together. So yeah, I think it works very nicely. So yeah, thumbs up to Stigbergets on this. This is another beautiful triple IPA, but we've kind of come to expect this from these guys these days. So yeah, let's round off the review with the mouthfeel then. So yeah, it's got a really nice kind of big, it's got a very nice kind of, I'd say it's at bottom end full bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. There's a big oiliness to this beer, but it does have a degree of slickness as well, which is nice. It feels really clean as well, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it feels a little bit lighter than some of the other triple IPAs I've come across in recent times, but I don't think that does it any hindrance, to be quite honest with you. But in terms of the hoppy bitterness of the beer, I think this one is maybe about 40 IBUs. It feels like it's got a little bit more bitterness, and to be fair, with a triple IPA you do need a little bit more than the kind of standard 25 or 30, so that makes sense. The malty base, like I said, is lovely and smooth. It gets a little bit thicker and a little bit more sweet and oily, absolutely. But yeah, I really like how that side of things goes together. So yeah, on the fruity side of things as well, it's got a lovely juiciness to it, but that has a good balance with the kind of oily nature that the beer has too. But overall, I think this is another beautifully done beer from Stigbergets, and I'm really happy that I got the chance to review this one. So yeah, we can leave it at that. You can hear the dogs going crazy again for people coming home, so there we go. But yeah, another very, very nice triple IPA from Stigbergets. We've come to expect this from them. Very slick, this one, I think, not quite as thick as some of the other ones, and this beer in the malt base especially, it really shows you sometimes simplicity is best. But beautiful beer once again from Stigbergets, massive thumbs up to them, and I think we can round off the review there. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stigbergets Bryggeri as well. We will return to these guys fairly soon. Like I said, I've got 2 lagers to review from them this month as well. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Stigbergets Bryggeri, and I'll catch you guys very soon. This one was Bionic, 10% New England Triple IPA from Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg, Göteborg, up on the Swedish west coast. Slange, skull, cheers.